Hi, and welcome again to Success Stories or Meet RX. And I am a coach here. My name is Brooke. And today I'm going to be interviewing Cynthia, who lives in Florida. And she's going to share with us her carnivore journey. Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
Hi, Brooke. How are you?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to share with our listeners what it's been like for you with these dietary shifts. And let's just get started with before you started eating carnivore, what kind of foods did you eat?
I ate the SAD diet, but just before that, but way back when I first started my food addiction, I was bulimic when I was a teenager for many, many years. That's how I dealt with everything. So of course I had psychological issues that go with all that. Long story short, I went through treatment, but I was still, I wasn't purging, but I was still binging. And weight went up, of course. Other issues, I tried being a vegan. I tried vegetarian. I tried the diet club. I tried, well, I won't name all of them, but I tried everything. And it just left me hungry. I might lose a little bit of weight, but then I would just be so hungry and so miserable. And I had gestational diabetes with both of my kids, and nothing they told me to do ever worked to help that. And then of course, once you have the baby there, they kind of forget about you. But so throughout the progress up through 05, I had tried all this stuff. And then in 05, I was approved for a gastric bypass. One of the reasons was because I did have autoimmune issues before that of fibromyalgia and the chronic fatigue syndrome. So
Were you on a medication with the fibromyalgia? Were you on medication?
No, I was not on, because I kind of found a lot of this stuff out while I was getting ready for the gastric bypass and what the doctors were saying and that. So they just wanted me to follow this diet, which strangely enough was very much Atkins type diet that they put you on before you have a gastric bypass. And you're pretty much like fasting and just doing protein when you get off of it and before you can start eating other foods. And for some reason, you're losing weight, you're feeling better, but then they want to start pushing all those foods back on you again. So I was still frustrated, so went through all that, put a lot of weight back on. I'd lost over 100 pounds with that, but it wasn't working. So I started to research. I did. I had a cousin that told me, hey, you should try the keto diet. And he was the one that gave me information and told me how to look that up. So I started in 14. I dabbled with it in 13, didn't quite do it. So in 14, I stuck to it and it was amazing. Now my husband hadn't yet. And he was diabetic, and he didn't start on the keto for about a year and a half later. And now he's off of his medicines even. So most of my autoimmune issues started to actually pop out after I had the gastric bypass, more than just the other ones. They were, I had a lot of stomach issues. I had, as far as digestion, they told me I had GERD, but it turned out it wasn't. I didn't have too much stomach acid. I had too little stomach acid. So that's what was causing the GERD for me. So I was taking medication and then I quit taking that. I've followed a lot of people that have done the keto. I've followed ShawnBaker. I follow, Paul Saladino. I've followed, oh gosh, I can't,
Well, let me just ask you. So when you had the bypass,
yes,
you lost 100 pounds with that, you said.
yes.
Is that right? And then, and what were you eating then? What was your diet then?
Well, at first I was trying to eat a lot of protein, but it was the protein I could only tolerate was a lot of whey protein, but that was giving me horrible gas, horrible gas. So, I did do that, and they wanted me to start incorporating other foods and meats, but meat, when I first started eating it then, it would just, because they wanted me to take this GERD medicine, it was just sitting in my stomach and wasn't going anywhere, wasn't doing anything. So I started not to eat much meat anymore. And I started to do, again, more vegetables and all this. And then I was just not feeling good. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was just, I ate a lot of potatoes. But
Okay. Well then, and then you went to the keto diet.
yes,
And
unfortunately, yes.
and I know, and that's such a lot, you know, it's such a broad definition. So what was your version of that keto diet?
Well, the more I learned, the better I got with trying to eat a cleaner keto. I did try eventually. First, no, I didn't start clean keto because I didn't know about like the seed oils, and I didn't know about, I would eat, when I found out about, you know, I never really liked margarine anyway, so that was never an issue. I never was on that bandwagon, but I would eat the mayonnaise and just try and make all this keto food that was just like what I had been eating. But I did that too for my husband, and it kind of helped him get over his, especially his bread addiction. So I was making all the breads and the fat bombs, but more and more I got to where I was trying to eat cleaner and get rid of a lot of the seed oils and things. And I started getting some more digestive things, and I quit with the GERD medicine. So I can't say there was one person in particular I followed, but I just joined a bunch of communities and listened to what a bunch of people say. Yeah, people like to argue, but anyway, so getting into carnivore, I was still having an issue with pain in my joints and my hands especially. So I thought I had like carpal tunnel syndrome. It was getting to the point where I couldn't open a jar. I couldn't even use my thumbs or my hands. And so my primary care gave me a blood test for RA, and sent me to a rheumatologist. And he said, well, I don't know. You've got some symptoms, but not all. So he sent me back. He was thinking it was a false positive. He sent me back 3 times and added another test to it each time. And there was only 2 that I ever showed up a negative, I guess, for, and everything else was positive. But he goes, but you just don't act like someone who's got rheumatoid arthritis. So I was doing my own research at the time, and that's when I found out about the oxalates in foods and that it was plants.
Because at this point you're eating keto and you're eating almond flour breads and things like that.
My favorite keto vegetables were spinach, tomatoes, and peppers and onions. So they were all really high, especially when I'd eat them raw. And it was like, yeah. So when I found out about the oxalates, I go, oh crap, I gotta, cut this stuff out. Well, I didn't delve into it quite enough, and I just like went cold turkey and cut everything out. And then of course I got sick. So I ended up actually in the hospital overnight one night because of the dumping syndrome, and I was having heart palpitations. And the doctors, they were all like, oh, what are you? And I only told them I was doing keto. I hadn't told them that I had, been on carnivore for a week. And so they were already giving me grief that, oh, you're going to die. This is going to happen to you. That's going to happen to you, blah, blah, blah. And they're giving me all these tests and everything. And then they come back and say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. So it was like, oh, well,
Maybe
okay.
It's like do you think it was a potassium imbalance?
It could have been. It could have been because I had issues before with high blood pressure before I went keto, and the potassium. It always seemed like I can write a fine line with potassium between feeling good and feeling bad. It seems like so. But I had, because I was on medicine then too. But
can I just, at this point with the gastric bypass, did your meals have to be very small?
Not super small, but I've had GI work done, and they've told me my stomach is still really small, and I still have to eat quite frequently, lots of times, and watch when I drink my water and not drink my water. And so in the summer when it's hot, I have to pay close attention to that. But yeah, my stomach is still fairly small, but meat is not the issue with it, and it was not, and that wasn't the problem. So
Yeah. So, okay, so when you got out of the hospital
mhm.
and you sort of took it easy, or what did you do then?
I just I looked into what happens. Well, it seemed like I hadn't read far enough in some of the research I was doing that, well, when you know, have high oxalates and you need to do this, don't cut them out altogether, you know, do a gradual withdrawal. And that's not what I did. So apparently I had a lot more built up in my system than I thought. But now my hands, I can do anything with my hands
If
now.
you had done keto, you were on keto for like 4 or 5 years. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
So you were eating those keto vegetables for several years.
Yes, you know.
Yeah. And then you found what Sally Norton's work?
Yes, I did. Yes, it was.
Bless her, yeah.
Yes.
And so you sort of started to take it a little bit slower.
Yes.
What did you feed yourself then?
Well, I've always liked steak. Meat is not ever been a problem. We eat a lot of eggs. I did do nose to tail for a while, but I can't tolerate too much liver consistently. I'll get tired of it, but sometimes I like it. My husband won't eat it at all. And so he's still kind of keto. He eats more vegetables than I do, but he's still a working man, and he does a lot of outdoor stuff. So
he's a meat-based keto diet.
He is. He sticks to, we don't have any of the nuts. Our family knows that, you know, they come to our house, they're eating keto carnivore foods. And I will fix a little more, you know, like the keto desserts and things when it's a holiday time and people are coming over, just to show them that they don't have to eat the crap they're eating. But I try not to preach anymore. I had to get over my preachiness. So
Good for you. And so did you have digestive issues with that transition?
No, not going to carnivore. I didn't. Because now I wasn't doing all the fiber stuff that, you know, and at that time too, I thought I needed the fiber, but then, you know, getting into it, finding out, no, you don't need that fiber. And I found that's true. I have dabbled with a few probiotics and to see if, and I've been trying the spore ones here lately to see if I really need that, but I'm still not convinced that I need to change any of that yet. So
yeah.
But
so
I'm open for suggestions. I never close myself off to something somebody says might, you know, be better. So
that's probably wise, isn't it?
Yes.
Especially when you've gone through so many changes, you know, like we've all gone through so many changes with that way of eating, that you get to start thinking, I better never say never.
But no, so we love our beef. We love venison. My husband, as you can see, there's a deer there. He's a hunter. And so yeah.
Did you name that deer? Does that deer have a name?
Actually, I did. I think that's Fluffy.
Okay. So
Yeah.
good for you. And so what are you eating?
Steak, eggs. This morning I had some hamburger, steak, eggs, ham. I do still eat some dairy. So I'll do cheese. I try to watch my cheese, because otherwise I'll just eat nothing but cheese if I'm not thinking about it. I love my dairy. But yeah, no, I eat pretty much. We're not lamb fans exactly, so we don't eat a lot of lamb, but and we don't eat actually much chicken or turkey anymore, just because I used to love it and all that, but I just don't have a craving for it anymore. So we'll eat salmon, fish. In fact, I'm going out to dinner tonight for seafood. So
nice. I have to ask, how do you cook your venison? What are your favorite ways?
Generally we roast it. I'll wrap it. I've had several recipes. My husband likes to smoke, so it depends on the cut. I loved using my new air fryer, so they cook and roast things really easily and nice. So
Nice.
yeah, try
So,
not to overcook it.
I haven't worked with venison very much. So is it like little roasts that you are utilizing?
It can be, and it depends on actually how the hunter gets his meat, because a lot of people, if they shoot them and they run a lot, there's going to be a lot of adrenaline. But my husband only takes a shot if he's going to be able to drop it and it doesn't run. And I've never had a gamey taste out of his food. Some other people's, if I know them and what they're giving me, then I use a marinade. It's called a Speedy Marinade. I don't know if you've heard of that. Pennsylvania is big on that because it's like a Pennsylvania Dutch marinade. They use it for lamb, but using it for venison is real good. It's basically just Italian dressing, and you soak it in there for a day or two. You cut it into pieces and you skewer it.
Okay, so when you said that the adrenaline, does it make it tough, or are you saying it makes it gamey?
No, it makes it gamey tasting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's a distinct flavor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so and that's when you've been marinated.
Yes, yeah.
Nice. And then do you add fat to that venison because it tends to be more lean?
Yes, it depends on the cut. Some of the cuts will have a fat because some of the deer, especially that time of year, December, January, when you can hunt them, it's well, anywhere from August usually through January, but they'll be a little fattier in the winter. But I will also, because it is still a leaner meat, I will add, butter, of course. And I used to cook with a lot of avocado oil, but I don't use that so much anymore either. So
yeah, I think that's a good idea to eliminate that one.
And I made my own.
It's often tainted. It's often contaminated with other oils.
Yeah, and I've made my own tallow. So I got some. We buy half a cow once or twice a year, and I'll ask them to give me the fat. And they're like, "Why do you want that?" I go, "Please," and they'll give me the bones and the fat and all the liver I want. And but usually
do they grind
now?
Do they grind the tallow up for you?
No.
I mean, do they grind the suet up for you?
No, Yeah,
Okay.
no, it's been in big chunks, but then that's okay. It's nice in my slow cooker, and then I just cook it slow. And
do you have ground venison? Do you make like a ground beef venison?
yes. You can find places that will actually, we've ground our own. I have a grinder, but a lot of places that'll dress out the meat for you, and they'll give you sausages. They'll make breakfast sausage, or they'll give you burger patties, steaks.
Really nice. And then you could add more fat, I guess, if you needed to.
Yes,
with the ground.
yeah. I add my own seasoning usually too.
Oh,
I
nice.
do seasoning.
So do you give them your seasoning mix and ask them to make sausages with your mix?
No, I just add it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
If I get like a lump of sausage, I'll just add it up afterwards and make patties or whatever.
So I have to ask, the venison must have its own suet around its kidneys, isn't that? What's the deal with that?
But the last time my husband got a deer, I can't say that. When was that? It was a while ago because he hasn't been since his dad couldn't go anymore. Because, anyways, so yeah, I didn't know about collecting suet and things like that back then. And my husband and his brothers were always under the impression you don't save any of that stuff. So I don't think they ever did. Now, when we take it to the butcher, they probably did. And we probably could now when my husband starts hunting again. But,
yeah, I'm curious. No one ever talks about the suet from deer, but I'm sure it must be right there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you eat the organs then from the deer too?
I have not. I think we got the heart once. They wouldn't let us take the liver. I guess something about the deer livers have too many worms in it or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
But I don't
Okay.
know if that's true, but I know they wouldn't let us have it. But,
Uh-huh. That sounds great that you're that you're providing your own meat. Your husband's bringing home the bacon, so to speak.
yeah.
Speaking of which, do you eat bacon?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We love our bacon. In fact, we're planning on, we've got a few acres up with my husband's brother in Alabama, and we're gonna grow some of our own beef and pork. So we know what's
Oh,
going in. Oh, yeah.
what a great project. Good for you. And so how are you feeling now? What's the update on your medical situation now?
I feel great. I mean, I can bend my hands. I have no pain there anymore. Sometimes when we go out to places, you know, when you go out in restaurants, you can't always be sure everything they're telling you about what you're getting is true. So I'll know as soon as I eat something, sometimes for the next day, whether or not, you know, and I'll log that in my head. Okay, that's something I want to avoid at that restaurant or something, you know. And, so,
Yeah, do
but
you
no,
think it's oil?
everything's great.
Do you think it's the oil at those restaurants that you're going to?
Yeah, I try to ask for no oil, or if I don't trust what they're telling me, or if they're not using real butter, I just go without. So, and I'll,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what are some of the other effects? Did you lose weight? Did you gain weight?
Oh
Did you?
yeah, no, I lost weight. In fact, yeah, I'm back down. I'm actually at a normal BMI. First time I've been there, I think, since high school. In fact, my weight's about what it was when I was in high school, just a little bit different proportions maybe, but no. And yeah, it's a good feeling. I don't weigh myself really anymore. I just started that probably in the last few months, and I eat what I want and I'm satisfied. I'm not going around hungry anymore. I don't have, you know, I don't have all that, those things going in my head anymore. And yes, so I did have mental things. I did have anxieties, and I was diagnosed actually, well, back right around my gastric bypass with bipolar 2, which is more anxiety driven. It's just like a steady anxiety. And they wanted me to take medicine, and I didn't want to because I wanted to follow the protocol that I learned when I treated my bulimia, that, you know, it's a cycle that you get into, and if you can deal with that cycle, it's going to be over, and then you don't have to stress over it. It just seemed like knowing that was a big help. Going to all meat and getting off of all those vegetables, it just has such a calming, I don't know. I just feel so much better. I just have to say I do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Without all those antagonizing plant
Yeah,
anti-nutrients.
and I can handle more things going on than before. I thought that, you know, I was just kind of, everyone
for
thought I
you.
was overreacting. Doctors always thought I was making things up, that, you know, there was nothing wrong with me. And I'm going, yes,
Oh,
there
yeah.
is. And now, okay, no, there's nothing wrong with me now. So
Good for you. And what about your spouse?
he's no longer taking diabetes medicine. He's doing really good. His weight is down to where he was back in his 20s, and no, he feels really good. And he goes, he does get a little preachy to people, but he tries to tell them, you just feel so good, and this is not hard to do. And he goes, I don't go hungry. And he tries to tell everybody what he used to eat in a day and how he's not, you know, doing that anymore. And he can go hours without eating and it doesn't bother him. And whereas before he couldn't go 1 or 2 hours without getting shaky. So even on medicine. So
Good for you guys.
yeah.
That's great.
No, it's yeah, it's yeah, we have a good, it's good. I'm glad we found it, and it's not anything we're gonna give up. So
Well, so, do you have any advice for someone just starting out?
just it's so easy. Once you get past the first couple weeks of thinking that you can't live without something, it's really not that bad. You can find, in the beginning, especially, you can find substitutes for things that you used to think you needed. And if you get hungry, just keep a stash of bacon with you. Really, that's, because I think in the first few weeks when someone starts keto or carnivore even, it's just the newness of it, and they're afraid, and if they are in a position where they think they might do something, cheating, I don't know, then have that meat with you, have something that you can fall back on, and not, at least you're doing something there. A lot of people, when they first start out, I found they still are hung up on eating too much fat. For some reason, the fat thing still throws them, so.
Yeah. So it sounds like, so keep yourself fed, sounds like.
Yeah. And just, they'll get through it, and they'll see changes. I've had friends that have done it, but then something comes up, oh, I had to get off it, because they wanted to go drinking or something. But then I don't know. Okay, if I get off on this tangent of people's excuses, I'll be in bad shape. So
I don't know. I think people are people, and they,
yeah,
and old habits die hard, and
yes, they do.
And drinking is probably it's another social life. It's fun, and people need to socialize, and they just have to find another way, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. They could do something that's not sugary, and
Yeah, they can just drink their whiskey straight.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. I really appreciate all your candor and sharing with us.
Okay.
And it sounds like things are really working out well for both of you. And congratulations on the whole thought and idea of you can run cattle and raising pigs with friends. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Carny on.
Yes.